Ask me to make that change.
Mr. Baxley, you know different days mean different things for working people. But again,
Absolutely.
How are you giving an improved way of voting when there was nothing wrong? You're securing
because
there was no fraud.
We have accountability. We're not going to wait for fraud. Government's all the time accused of waiting till there's a big problem. We don't need that. We need a clear, precise election process that's well protected, that we can verify that the information's correct. And everybody gets to vote by provisional ballot. If they don't have their affairs in order, they still get to vote by provisional ballot so we can clear them if they're changing their address. We have one of the most accessible and liberal early voting by absentee ballot. People can register right now and be ready to receive their ballot.
Then why, if it wasn't broke, why are you fixing it, other than this is some political game? I mean, this is the state now with hanging chads that went through the 2000 Bush-Gore. There was no state legislative response to that. But now, all of a sudden, the state legislature has to repair something that wasn't broken. And you don't think that's a little suspicious?
Sir, I was here, and we did a lot of election reform and a lot of work on our election system after that close election in 2000. But the effort here is to have a secure election process that works. And we have one of the most accessible, easy to register. And as far as all these groups, this is irrational. We have many groups that register. And the safest way is to give somebody a registration form in an envelope so they can mail it directly to the supervisor. Then they know their information went directly to the supervisor and was not manipulated by any third party.
Mr. Baxley, you just heard the head of the League of Women Voters from Florida. They've been registering voters for 72 years in the state. They've pulled out. They say these laws are trying to intimidate people and frighten people from registering to vote. The cornerstone of this country is voting. That doesn't disturb you that people nonpartisan in your state that have for almost 3/4 of a century registered to vote has said these laws are wrong, that people in minority communities, that young people are saying this is rolling back on my rights. It doesn't bother you, or is in fact this the design of what you and the Republicans in your state house are trying to do? Which is it?
I think that's absolutely an incorrect assessment of where we are. I don't apologize for the legislature protecting this process, and it's unfortunate that the League of Women Voters has taken that position.
But who are you protecting it from?
From mishap and mischief. Things can go wrong.
But there hasn't been any mishap or mischief.
Did you know Mickey Mouse registered to vote last time?
No, I didn't know Mickey Mouse registered to vote. But if he did, he was one of 31 people. And believe me, 31 people in 3 years, come on. If you got to go get Mickey Mouse to make your case when you have only 31 cases, then Mr. Baxley, you're trying to take all of us to Disney World on a ride rather than a democracy that we need to have in this country.
We have a very open process, and the rules are the same for everyone, and the law is very clear that the only way you're going to have a problem if you're intentionally trying to abort the election law process.
Let me show you this. Ann McFall, county supervisor of elections, says Florida voter registration database in place since 2006 catches anyone who tries to register in 2 counties. I mean, you're fixing something that wasn't broke. That's why it does not
that's
smell
another
right.
issue. That's another issue. That was about local elections that get polluted by the fact that people can walk in any precinct and change their address on election day. We had people coming from one community to another and steal a local election. Was it fraud? No, because it was allowed under our election law. And I don't think that's right, though. I don't think that should happen. And so it was not just about the national election. It's not just about the ballot. There's a lot of local issues. There's a lot of broad issues. There's things that they don't get any of the mail.
If they change to do it, though, you just waited on now to do it. State Senator Michael Bennet justified the law with this line. He says, voting is a hard-fought privilege. This is something people died for. Why should we make it easier? This is Michael Bennet, President pro tempore. I mean, what do you mean, why should you make it easier? We're supposed to live in a democracy. Why should we be making it harder, Mr. Baxley?
We want people to participate in the total process. Go ahead and register so you get all of the election information, all the advocacy issues that are going to be on that ballot, so that you know what you're doing when you go to the polls. And then you vote where you're registered and you're fine. And this database, all out in the rural districts, you don't have computer access at every polling location.
But how
and
does
still,
cutting,
we're not stopping them from voting
down, Mr. Baxley, how does cutting down early voting do that? How does stopping people from leaving churches and going with souls to the polls, led by their congregations, how does that do that?
We have not cut early voting by 1 hour. I had requests from both sides of the aisle. I had people from both sides of the aisle
Sunday voting?
that asked me to compact that so that they were full days.
Did you stop Sunday voting after church?
There needs to be a break so that we can account for Election Day. We don't have any time to set up for Election Day. People want to be off on Sundays. A lot of our people go to church. And why would you make all those poll workers work?
A lot of those churches were bringing souls to the polls, and all of a sudden, now that is eliminated. So you cut back the days on early voting. You ended souls to the polls. You and I both know that those are dominated in minority communities.
Same number of hours for early voting. We have limited access for anyone.
The same number of days. Those hours
No,
are
it's
condensed,
better because they're
and you
full
eliminate
days.
Sundays.
You don't go there at a partial time and think the poll's going to be open and find that it's closed. By compacting this into a week with full days, they know they're going to be there when they go to vote. So, and early voting, just vote by absentee ballot. That's an early voting process. You can start very early. And so we're a very accessible system. It's accessible to everybody in the same way. And I think we've safeguarded it in a way that I'm proud of.
It's just changing the days that people that have successfully brought out a lot of new voters in 2008 are saying they cannot do that now. When you're not just talking now about those of us in the civil rights community. You're not talking about just Bishop Victor Curry. You're talking about the League of Women Voters, and you're sitting here talking as if it doesn't matter.
Well, I don't know exactly how nonpartisan they are, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so now the League of Women Voters are not nonpartisan?
Well, that's what their title is, but I don't see them functioning that way. Most of the things that they advocate are very much in line with the Democratic Party.
So what are you saying, that they're being partisan? Are you accusing the League of Women Voters of being partisan?
They are very partisan. Look at most of the issues that they hold. They're right in line with the Democratic Party, which is fine.
So is that why you put up laws so they can't register voters? Because you think they're partisan?
They can register voters. They can register voters.
Oh, they pull out because of the new laws. And now you're telling me
they have to abide by the law. That's all.
Are they not registered as nonpartisan in the state of Florida?
Unless you're trying to intentionally violate the election law, you don't have a problem under this bill.
Mr. Baxley, is the League of Women Voters registered as nonpartisan in your state?
I'm sure they are.
And you've never objected to that. You never tried to have that pull. Just the rights of people to register. No, but you're sitting here tonight castigating and questioning them.
I'm making an observation.
You're saying they may not be nonpartisan. You never made one move against them, just like you're fighting against a crisis that doesn't exist. 31 cases. You're trying to have an answer to a problem that doesn't exist, which makes many of us feel you're trying to create another problem.
We're going to guarantee that everyone that participates in this process can have credibility in the results. That's the job of the legislature. Many people can help us with participation, and they do. And I hope the League of Women Voters will get over their angst about this and go ahead and help people be involved in the total process.
Representative Baxley will be dealing a lot with this. I hope you and your legislators will understand we're not going backwards in time. We're not counting bubbles on a soap no more. Thank you for your time.
No, we're not either. We're moving forward. We're ready to move forward.
Right.
We're excited about the upcoming election.
We are too,
welcome
and that's why we're not going to let you interfere with our vote. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. I'm Al Sharpton. Hardball starts right now.
The new